I want to first of all share with you a fantastic program that I've discovered that's called Zoom. Zoom is a little bit like Skype, but you can do some really cool things with it as well. You can share a new window, you can use video for web and video conferencing, you can annotate if you would like, so I can click my annotate here. Let's just say we draw, let's need to choose one first, that helps. So I can do a little arrow there pointing to Zoom, and you can sign up for free, which is I'm actually using a free version now. The great thing about this is that you can also share your screen like I am now. So I'm sharing my computer screen with you, and as you can see I have my work all over the place. But the other great thing is that you can also share your iPad, and I'm going to use this particular piece of software to share a couple of things on the iPad so that you can see how Keynote works. But I just wanted to point out that Zoom is a really good option for anyone that's looking for a really great video conferencing application. But this, as I said, can also be used to record information as well. So I'm going to save this as a video and then I can share it with you. Instead of sharing my desktop screen, I'm now going to select iPad instead. And what I then need to do is go to my iPad, flip my iPad up from the bottom, you can see down here, and I'll get that little box, and it will also, you also need to make sure that mirroring is slid across to the right as well, so you can see the little green part there. Once I've done that, I can actually share anything that's on my iPad with you, which is really fantastic. So let's go to Keynote, because that's what we're primarily concerned with. And you can see that I have all of my keynotes in here. Now, one of the really simple keynotes that I created first were what I call just basic flashcard type apps. And if we go to the S app and hit play, you'll see what I did. So I have S words. So what I did with my students is we brainstormed these words, and using the animation feature, I can have the word first, so I can ask my students to read the word stop, and if, let's say, they're struggling with that a little bit, I can tap the screen again and up comes a visual. And we did this together as a classroom, and it's just very simple to do. And the animation is extremely simple because I just make sure that the next thing comes in after each tap. So you can probably hear in the audio of me tapping. And you can see that there are 20 slides, and we'll just quickly zip through them. So it's just a really good flashcard app, and something that the students can also be working with by themselves or in a group situation. So you could have this as one of your literacy centres if you wanted to. You could ask them to, brainstorm 15 words and then find pictures that go with their words and create their own keynote as well. And you'd be surprised, students do really well creating their own things. So that's just one idea. And that was my first experiment with using animation. So then I had another idea of what if we also then used it for times tables? How would that look? I've used the animation function to be able to create that. So we're going to hit play on that again. So here is 6 times table practice. Now let me just give you a clue that whenever you're creating anything, create your first template. So 1 times 6, and if I hit that again, the answer pops up. So I created that template first and then duplicated that, and I might show you how that works in a moment. 2 times 6. Now you could connect this to your interactive whiteboard, you could do times table practice, and again you could use it as a numeracy centre, or your students could have it there on their iPad and they could practice their times table whenever they finish a worksheet that you have presented them. And they really like doing this, and again I always involve my students in creating all of the keynotes, because I just think it's a really good thing to be able to do together. And whenever I'm creating the keynotes, I get them to do it with me on an interactive whiteboard. If you don't have access to an interactive whiteboard, then don't worry, you can do it independently and then share it with them. So that's another idea. Then there's a little bit more of a complicated idea, and I'm going to show you the example first and then I'll show you the template. So this is a shapes worksheet, what I call a digitalized worksheet. So here they have to add the right shape and animate the shape, then add a text box with the list of shape attributes, and they need to see the example below. So some of the attributes might be how many sides, how many corners, is there equal sides, and the fact that it has points. So how well do you know your shape? So this is at the end of the day what I want them to create for me. So insert a circle. So they need to create adding a circle inside the box. And then what I would want them to do is also add some text with that as well. Insert a square, insert a rectangle, and insert an oval, insert a triangle, and insert a pentagon. Now again, I did this by creating a template. I wanted to show you that as well so you could see how easy it is to create something like this. So here's the template. If I go to the next slide, the insert a circle slide. So this is what I would actually give my students. So there's no shapes in there ready to go, if that makes sense. So what the students would need to do is go up to the plus and then insert a shape, and then they just can decide whether they want it to have some colour, or the other option is to go with the plain, and I think it was circle first. Now here they can make that, let's get that out of the way for a minute, they can move it, they can make it bigger if they want to. So the little dots there, make it bigger or make it smaller. And then what I can do is go up here to the paintbrush, and the other thing that you need to make sure is that that circle is sitting in front of the other box, because when it comes to the animation side of it, they won't be able to see it, if that makes sense. So we can go to Style and Style Options. Well, I want the border colour, white is fine, let's keep it for that for the moment, but I might make it a solid colour, and then I might make it a little bit bigger as well. And then here I can choose Fill, and Apple have done a really good job of improving their colour options so that you now have a whole range of different colours, and you can even choose your own colours on a colour wheel as well, which I think is fantastic. So I like these gradients, so I might just go with something like that for the moment, and I'm not going to worry about a shadow or reflection or anything like that, but I am going to add text. So inside here is where I would say it's round, has no sides, no corners, no straight edges. You might be able to come up with some other ones. And then what I need to do is make sure that I animate that. So I want it to come to build in, and I think dropping in is quite good. And then you have the option of effects and how long you want that to take. So you can play it and see what it looks like. So it just drops in like that, and I think that's quite good. Then you need to decide whether you want it to happen on tap or after transition, and I always like to say tap, and then once we've finished, we can change the order as well, but we're not going to do that for now. So there's a whole range of different options here, as you can see, and then you can continue to do that for each, or the students will continue to do this for each box. And once it's played, in comes the attributes, and there's the circle. Now one of the things I could have done is added a text box. So let's stop that for a moment, and I might actually show you that. So let's insert a square. I'm not going to be too fussy with it for the moment. But just to keep it consistent, I might make it the red colour, actually green, and the border will keep the same. So now instead of adding the text inside the box, I'm going to now add text as a separate entity here. Oops, it's very, very small. And here's where I can add attributes. So I'm just going to type in attributes for now. Attributes, it's very small, so it's hard for me to see. I'm going to select all and come up here and make it a little bit bigger. Make it white. And then again, I'll just... So what I need to do now is animate, build in, and I think it's a good idea to keep it consistent, but I might want the words to just appear, let's say. So let's play and see what happens with that. Actually, we might play the whole thing. So done, and see how that looks. So here's where it's going to look a little bit different. And this time we've got the words just appearing like that. So your students can play with this, and not only are they learning about their shapes, but they're also creating a fantastic presentation that demonstrates their learning as well. So that's just another idea, and you could apply that idea to any situation. I've just used shapes because I think it's a really easy one to share. Let me just show you another example of how to use that animation to create a question and answer situation. You would have seen this one on one of the videos. I'll show you now how that animation looks. Okay, so let's just play it. So it's about French films, and I could have added more films here as I suggested in the video. For the sake of expediency, we didn't do that. So my favourite film is... and I've used the animation to have the picture pop out in front so that it appears like it's opened up in a new slide, but it's actually all on the same slide. So let me show you what that looks like and explain how I did it. So we're going to go to this particular slide here, and there's 3 elements. So I'm going to move that down, and I'm going to just make that smaller for the moment, just so it's out of the way. And you'll be able to say that there are 3 elements on the page. So I have my picture of Emily, which I just Googled and saved. And I have a circle, and then I also have the words there. And it's really important that they all come together. So I had to make sure that Emily, with the animation, that it came in a particular order. So the first one is where I've just built it in, and there's none. Actually, in fact, this one disappears. So rather than building it in, I built it out. The second one, again, I built it out. There's no build in, there's a build out. And then the first one, there is no animation at all. So instead of using a build in, I actually used a build out. And you'll see how that worked. You saw how that worked. So you can get really, really creative with how you can build in your animation and how you can make it work to your advantage. So as you can see, there's some fantastic things that you can do using Keynote to really make your presentations come alive. So here's another one. This is a daily schedule, and I work with children who are on the spectrum, and oftentimes having a daily schedule is really beneficial. So one of the things that they can do is when they've finished a particular activity, they can hide that activity behind a trash can. So the thing is that you can use the Keynote either as a presentation or just as a work platform. So times tables and then lunchtime. Rather than playing it as a presentation, I've just used it so that the students can work off the screen itself, and that works really well. So that gives you a couple of ideas, and I'm going to share with you a couple of other ideas in the next video.